Hello everyone, this is your daily dose of tech. This is iOS 26. More than a software update, it's a visual reboot. A rethinking of how digital experiences should look, feel, and respond. Apple has introduced a new design language they call liquid glass. And yes, it's beautiful. Everything now feels as though it's submerged in fluid. Light bends, icons shimmer, transitions ripple. But beneath the surface, there's something deeper going on. Something more than just good design. Because if you're paying attention, you'll notice that iOS 26 doesn't just feel new. It feels familiar. This isn't just a leap forward. It's a glance backward toward a forgotten aesthetic. One we thought we outgrew. One that was once the very image of the future. Liquid glass is Apple's most visually ambitious redesign since iOS 7, and arguably, its most emotionally charged since iOS 6. In iOS 26, the interface behaves like a living object. The UI responds with subtle distortion effects. Buttons bend light, panels blur into one another. Everything appears suspended in a translucent medium, as if the OS exists under glass. The control center has been reimagined with floating modules that respond to depth and motion. Widgets have layered transparency. Even the lock screen has new motion-aware elements that shift gently with your phone's tilt. But it's not just visual. Apple's engineers have reworked the haptic and audio feedback to match. Taps no longer produce digital clicks. They echo, softly like droplets on glass. The system feels tactile, even when you're not touching anything. It's elegant, it's immersive, and it signals something we haven't seen from Apple in a long time. A willingness to be expressive, even indulgent. Before flat design took over the world, we lived in a different era, an era of shine, depth, glass, and optimism. This was the time of Frutiger Aero, an aesthetic movement born in the mid-2000s, named after two things: the Frutiger typeface, clean, legible, modern, and Microsoft's Aero interface from Windows Vista, which introduced blur, gloss, and motion into desktop computing. But Frutiger Aero was more than just a Microsoft thing. It was everywhere. Samsung's early Android phones, Sony Ericsson's Walkman series, HTC's custom Android layers, Nokia's N series, even Apple's early iOS had glossy icons, bubbly animations, and felt textures. It was the standard language of consumer tech. What made Frutiger Aero different was its emotion, its willingness to romanticize technology, to make software feel lush, animated, hopeful. Icons looked like physical objects, buttons glowed when pressed. Glass was everywhere. Not because it was efficient, but because it was beautiful. It was a time when user interfaces were designed to evoke wonder, not just deliver clarity. A time when we still believed technology could be fun, magical, and slightly excessive. But like all trends, Frutiger Aero fell, and it fell hard. In 2013, Apple released iOS 7. Gone were textures, shadows, gloss. Replaced with pure geometry, thin fonts, and flat colors. Design had become invisible by design. Google followed suit with material design. So did Microsoft with Metro UI. Soon, every app, every phone, every website began to look the same. Designers were told, flat is fast, flat is clean, flat is modern. And they listened. But in flattening everything, we lost more than texture. We lost identity. We lost personality. We lost the idea that software could be emotional. And for the next 10 years, we lived in a world of interfaces that worked, but rarely felt like anything. Now, with iOS 26, something has shifted. Liquid glass is not skeuomorphism. It's not a direct throwback to the bubbly gradients of 2008, but it carries that same emotional DNA. It values texture, movement, light. It reintroduces friction, the good kind. The kind that makes you notice how something feels, not just how it functions. In many ways, liquid glass is Frutiger Aero, reimagined for a modern context. It's cleaner, subtler, more intentional, but it's built on the same belief. That technology doesn't just serve, it enchants. It doesn't mean the death of flat design, but it does challenge its dominance. It invites a new design philosophy, not minimalism for minimalism's sake, but expressiveness with restraint. Here's something we often forget. The way technology looks shapes how we feel about it. Design isn't just about aesthetics. It's about identity, about how we relate to our devices, and how they reflect back our values. For years, flat design told us that functionality was everything, that beauty was extra, that decoration was waste. But the truth is, beauty informs trust. Texture creates intimacy. Motion invites curiosity. When you hold a device, you're not just using it, you're forming a relationship with it. And that relationship is visual, tactile, emotional. By bringing back depth, softness, and wonder, Liquid Glass isn't just changing how iOS looks, it's changing how it feels to live inside of it. Design is never just design, it's culture, it's memory, it's who we are, and who we imagine we could be. Back in the 2000s, we imagined a future full of glowing touchscreens, floating menus, interactive surfaces. We saw it in sci-fi, in concept videos, in marketing. That future never came exactly as promised. Instead, we got rectangles and productivity dashboards. But iOS 26 reminds us that the dream isn't dead, it's just evolving. Design is becoming emotional again. Nostalgia isn't just a trend, it's a compass, a way of remembering what inspired us in the first place. Maybe Frutiger Aero didn't disappear, maybe it was just waiting. And maybe now, with Liquid Glass, it's finally ready to return. Not as a copy of the past, but as a reminder of how good the future could still feel. Liquid Glass is not just a look, it's a statement, a reawakening. And maybe the future we dreamed of in 2007 is finally arriving, just in a different way. So before we wrap up, let me ask you just one thing. Now that you've seen where Apple is going with iOS 26 and Liquid Glass, do you think we're heading toward a more expressive, emotional era of technology? Or are we just romanticizing the past? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, not just as users, but as people that lived in the 2000s era. See you in the next video!